And why not just interpret the law? The law as the law stands. Why do you need to sit on the bench as a judge and try and remake the world in the image you want to see, which is effectively what the Ninth Circuit has been known for, and this judge as well in Seattle. I want to know what's going to happen next. So joining me right now is Ilya Shapiro from the Cato Institute. Good to see you, Ilya. All right, walk me through it. So Ninth Circuit, what do you anticipate, knowing full well that the Ninth Circuit has a history, shall we say, of aggressively working to influence the law in their own way rather than just uphold it?
Well, the focus is on these three judges specifically on the panel. And based on how the argument went yesterday, it was a very unusual argument. Everyone was appearing by telephone. I don't know why they couldn't set up one of those corporate holodecks or what have you where you can see anyone. But in any event, and it's quite likely, based on how the argument went, that they will reject the government's request for a stay, meaning that the restraining order will remain in effect. It'll go back to the district judge for further briefing and argument for a longer and more in-depth, reasoned opinion, which will then go up on appeal again to the Ninth Circuit, likely to the same panel. So this isn't done.
How long is this going to take, for goodness sakes?
Well, here's the thing. It takes a while. Litigation always takes a while, and there are procedural cascades that are in play here. It's not even clear. The Ninth Circuit, if it wanted to, could just say, we don't take appeals from restraining orders. We're going to wait for the actual preliminary injunction to go into effect. And remember, this order is only good for 90 days anyway. So even if
I know the 90 days is going to be up. Hey, I just keep going back to this 1952 law, 8 U.S.C., in which the president has the ability to suspend the entry of, quote, any class of aliens into the United States. The exclusion of aliens is also a fundamental act of sovereignty, the government is saying. The president, they say, has this right. It's right there. It's spelled out in this 1952 law. How do you get around that if you're the Ninth Circuit?
Well, I think this will come down to the statutory claim, not the religious discrimination claim. That's sort of in the background, that constitutional issue. And there are two provisions of the immigration law that are at issue here. That one that you talked about, that the president can deny entry to any aliens for who are a threat to national security or for other related reasons. And then one that talks about how you can't discriminate for immigration purposes among immigrants for certain, for race, class, religion, etc. And so there's.
But they would argue they're not discriminating. They would argue these are the same 7 countries that President Obama targeted, saying they are terrorist hotbeds. We know that these countries can't keep track of who's actually there. You know, they've made the point, the left has made the point that no terrorist from these countries has committed an act on U.S. soil, but we know they have in Europe. So aren't we supposed to be doing everything we can to prevent this kind of activity from happening?
Yes, but as I'm saying, there's a difference. I mean, the technical law is really arcane here, and there's a difference between being an immigrant and being someone who's a foreigner, who's a visitor or a student or for some other purpose. And the president has much more leeway over that second category. It's different for green card holders or others who already have visas.
Because theoretically, you've already been vetted. The government's already given you the visa, although I would think that we'd want to maintain that we have, as a nation, the ultimate control. Even if we already gave you a visa, if we're concerned about security in any given moment, theoretically, we should be allowed to say, okay, enough,
Absolutely.
We're taking back that visa. Anyway,
and that goes back to how this was rolled out, and without really good guidance in place for the border officials.
Wild. All right, Ilya Shapiro, we're waiting on that big decision. Thank you so much. Good to have you here.